took nothing from his father. Not the face, not the mind, not the stubbornness. The boy is pure me. And thank God for that.
Thomas had come home from work early. He stopped in the hallway, the door still half open.
Nothing. The word echoed as he stood there, frozen.
Her laughter, light and careless, drifted in. He took a step back. He walked to the study, sat at the desk, and reached for a pen. Outside the window, the sky darkened.
He owed his son more than silence. He would give him everything, but not yet.
On the envelope, in deliberate handwriting, "To Liam, to be opened on your 18th birthday." He placed it on the desk, picked up a suitcase, and walked out the front door. The letter waited in the dark, sealed with a promise he intended to keep. The next morning, the house was still. Maria woke to an empty side of the bed and a silence that felt deeper than sleep.
Thomas?
She searched every room, but his keys, his wallet, and his suitcase were gone.
He actually left. He heard me and he left.
Mommy? Where's Daddy? Did he go away?
He went away, baby. He decided he didn't want to live with us anymore.
But why? Did I do something wrong?
Number, it was never about you. Some people just aren't meant to be fathers.
She pulled him close, but his small body stayed rigid. Alone on the stairs later, he hugged himself tighter than she ever could. That was the first of many lies. And in Liam's small chest, a crack formed that would never fully close. 5 years later, Liam had turned 11, a silent boy who knew better than to ask about his father. One afternoon, he overheard a boy boast, "My dad's taking me to the game." A girl laughed. "My daddy says I am his princess."
Why don't I have that? What did I do that was so wrong?
The school called Maria. She walked into the office with a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes.
He's just going through a phase. He'll be fine.
They talk about me like I am not even here, like I am something broken that can be ignored.
Why do you have to make everything so difficult? You are embarrassing me.
Why did Dad leave? Because he didn't want me.
He was never good enough for us. You are better off without him. Remember that?
But the words only made the crack wider. In his chest, something cold and sharp had already begun to harden. 3 years later, Liam was 14, and his silences had turned sharp. He stopped asking questions and started assuming answers.
So this is him, the man who walked out like we were nothing.
He tore the photograph in two. Then again, the pieces fluttering to the floor.
Good! He doesn't get to exist in this house. Not even in a picture.
Maria appeared in the doorway, a plate in her hand. She saw the scraps and froze.
What did you do? That was the only picture.
The only picture of a ghost. Don't pretend you miss him. You said he was worthless.
I said that so you wouldn't hurt as much. Everything I've done was to protect you.
Right, protect me. Like you protected me from ever having a dad.
She had no answer. The lie held, but the silence that followed was heavier than any truth they could have spoken. Liam turned 16 and got a job bagging groceries. Every dollar went into a shoebox under his bed.
He'd been marking days on a calendar. At 18, he was done with this town and everything in it.
Maria came to the store one afternoon. She stood at the end of the aisle, but Liam pretended he didn't see her.
You are working so hard lately. I never see you anymore.
That's the point.
The next morning, she placed a packed lunch on the counter in front of him, like a peace offering.
I thought you might be hungry. You barely ate last night.
I'll eat when I am hungry. I don't need you hovering. 2 more years. Just 2 more years of this, and then he was gone for good.
On the kitchen calendar, June 15th was circled. The day he turned 18. The day he would finally be free. 1 week before his 18th birthday, the house on Oak Street felt like a held breath.
I was thinking for your birthday, maybe we could go to that diner you used to love. Just the two of us.
You mean the one Dad took me to? Before he left? No thanks.
Liam, I am trying to make things better. Why won't you let me?
Because there's nothing left to fix. I am done.
She reached for his hand, but he pulled it back as if burned.
7 more days, and he'd never have to hear her apologies again.
You can't just shut me out forever. I am still your mother.
You've been telling me that my whole life. It doesn't mean what you think it does.
The calendar clung to the wall, each X a step toward a door he didn't know was about to swing wide open. The night before his 18th birthday, Liam sat on the edge of his bed, the room silent around him.
He'd been waiting for this day for years, and now that it was here, the emptiness felt deeper than ever.
From a drawer, he pulled out the torn pieces of the photograph he had ripped years ago.
This was all that remained of the man who walked out. And even that was too much. Happy birthday, Liam. The biggest joke of my life.
He watched the clock on his nightstand tick closer to midnight.
18 years without a father. He didn't need one now.
He shoved the pieces back into the drawer and slammed it shut.
He expected nothing from this day. Nothing from anyone. At least then he couldn't be disappointed.
But as the clock struck 12, the old floorboards creaked with a stillness that felt like the last calm before a quiet storm. The morning of June 15th arrived gray and unremarkable. A plate of dry toast waited on the kitchen table.
Happy birthday, sweetheart! 18 years old. I can hardly believe it.
It's just another day. Don't make a scene.
Before she could reply, the doorbell rang. A sharp, officious chime that cut through the stale air. On the stoop stood a man in a dark suit, a leather briefcase in his gloved hand. His face was practiced and unreadable.
Who are you? What is this about?
My name is Aldridge. I represent a client whose instructions have been sealed for quite some time. May I come in?
What client? We don't know any lawyers.
The client is Thomas Reeves. I have in my possession a sealed letter and a trust document to be delivered to his son on this exact date.
The name landed like a stone. Maria's hand flew to her mouth, and Liam froze in place. The lawyer stepped into the living room and unlatched his briefcase with a practiced click.
This envelope has been kept under strict instruction for 12 years. It is now yours to open.
Why now? After all this time? What could he possibly have to say?
Liam, don't. You don't have to listen to this. This is a trick.
Ma'am, I am merely carrying out my client's legal wishes. The contents are for his son alone.
Liam reached out and took the envelope. The paper was yellowed at the edges, but the handwriting was steady. On the front, in blue ink, it read, "To Liam, to be opened on your 18th birthday." Maria stumbled backward and gripped the back of the armchair, her face a mask of dread.
This was the man who supposedly wanted nothing to do with him. So, why did his heart pound like a drum?
Beside the letter, the lawyer placed a thick document. The word trust was embossed on the cover. Liam slid his finger under the seal and unfolded the brittle paper. The room held its breath. Liam, if you are reading this, I've been gone a long time, but I never stopped loving you. I heard your mother say you got nothing from me. It broke something I couldn't fix by staying. The words she had spoken that afternoon, the ones that drove him into 15 years of silence. So I left. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to build something worthy of you. I built a company from nothing. Every container, every ship, every late night. It was all for you. A man alone in a foreign land, building an empire his son would never see until this moment. Maria pressed a fist against her mouth, her face a ruin of shock and guilt. Liam's hands shook as he read on. The letter was a map of everything he'd never been told.
He didn't abandon me. She lied. Everything she told me was a lie.
Reeves Shipping is now worth $900 million. Every cent, every ship, every contract, it's all yours.
Mr. Reeves, if you'll turn to the trust document, you'll see the full breakdown of holdings. It's been verified independently.
Maria let out a strangled sound, half gasp, half sob. She had mocked a man who was now a shadow billionaire.
All those years of struggling, of her telling me he was worthless, and he was building this for me.
A photograph in the trust exhibit showed Thomas beside a towering cargo vessel, his hair gray but his eyes sharp. I am asking only one thing in return. Come meet me. Once. Then the company is yours without condition.
The trust activates immediately upon that meeting. It's a single meeting, nothing more. The choice is entirely yours.
Liam, please. This doesn't change anything. He still left us. He abandoned you.
You told me he was worthless. You told me he didn't want me, and all this time.
The lawyer quietly gathered his papers. The offer had been made. Now a son had to decide if he would cross an ocean to meet a ghost. As the lawyer's footsteps faded, Maria grabbed Liam's arm, her voice cracking.
Liam, please. You were a child. I was terrified of what the truth would do to you.
You were terrified of what I'd do. You expect me to believe you now?
She had no answer that could undo 12 years of lies. Her excuses fell like dry leaves.
If you found out he built this without us, you'd hate me. I couldn't bear that.
You couldn't bear that? You made me hate him instead. You made me hate myself.
The words hung between them, heavy and final. Maria reached for him again, but he stepped back.
I need to be alone right now. Please, just let me think.
Without another glance, he turned and climbed the stairs, the letter pressed against his heart. In his room, Liam stared at the letter, the weight of 1,000 unspoken words pressing down on him. Just after dawn, Liam came downstairs with a suitcase and the trust papers.
I booked a flight. I'm going to meet him.
Liam, he's a stranger. You don't know what you are walking into.
For 18 years, I've lived with your lies. Let me make my own choice.
He turned and walked to his room. A framed photo of his mother landed face down in the suitcase. Maria stood in the hallway, voice cracking, but the door closed between them. An hour later, a taxi pulled away. Liam stared out the window without once looking back. The departures board flickered. Jakarta, Gate 12, on time. Liam held the envelope like a lifeline, the promise of answers pulling him across the world. He was about to meet a ghost, unsure if the man he'd hated for so long was even real. The plane lifted into a pale morning sky, carrying Liam over an ocean he had never crossed.
Somewhere below, the only life he'd ever known was shrinking to a speck.
Hours dissolved over the Pacific. When he stepped off the plane, the humid air clung to his skin like a second shirt. A driver held a sign, Reeves, no first name. That small word now meant an empire. The car sped through streets thick with motorcycles and neon signs, a city alive and foreign. Then the skyline opened. A tower of blue glass rose above the waterfront, and the name Reeves Shipping glinted in the sun. Liam stepped out of the car and craned his neck. The building seemed to hold its breath.
He built all this for me, a man I tore out of every photograph.
He pushed through the revolving door into a lobby of marble and light, and for a moment, he forgot how to exhale. The elevator to the executive floor stood open. Up there, a stranger was waiting who shared his name. The elevator hummed upward, each floor a silent count. Liam watched his reflection sharpen in the polished steel. The doors opened onto a corridor of glass and silence. His footsteps echoed like a quiet drum through a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows. A man sat behind a desk, gray hair, sharp eyes, and a stillness that felt practiced.
After all this time, he came.
Liam stood in the doorway, his shadow stretching across the threshold. The envelope in his hand was now worn from the journey. Thomas rose slowly, the years falling away from his shoulders. He looked older than the torn photograph, but his eyes held the same weight.
He's real. The ghost I tore out of every picture is standing right there.
Neither moved. The silence between them was thick with everything unsaid for 15 years. Thomas's hand, resting on the desk, trembled just once. His mouth opened, then closed again. The room held its breath, waiting for the first word that would change everything. Thomas gestured to the chair across from him, a simple motion that carried the weight of years.
You got everything you needed from me. You just had to wait.
He said it without blame, as if the 15 years of silence were a necessary delay, not a wound. Through the wall of windows, the ports stretched to the horizon. Containers stacked like building blocks, cranes frozen mid-swing.
Every container, every ship, every late night, I kept a photograph of you on my desk. You were the reason.
Liam's eyes flicked to the frame, a snapshot of himself at 6, the same one Maria had torn. Here it was, restored.
You kept a picture. You had a picture. and you still never called.
If I had called, you would have had to choose between your mother and me. I wouldn't make you carry that.
Liam's fists unclenched. The anger he had carried for so long suddenly had nowhere to go. Outside, a ship's horn sounded low and distant, marking the hour.
All those years, you could have sent a letter, a single message. Why didn't you?
Because she would have twisted it, used it to hurt you more. I had to be either fully present or fully gone.
Liam's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. The logic, however painful, settled into the cracks his mother had left.
The trust was my only way to reach you without a war. It waited until you were old enough to choose for yourself.
He really planned this. Every piece of this empire was built around a boy he couldn't even speak to.
Without another word, Thomas slid a thick folder across the desk. The final page was already flagged for signature. Liam picked up the heavy gold pen. His hand trembled only once. Then the ink met paper. Thomas watched, his breath held. When Liam set the pen down, the older man's shoulders dropped a fraction. For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the distant hum of the port that now belonged to a teenager.
I still don't know how to feel about you, but I won't pretend you gave me nothing.
3 days later, a familiar cab pulled up to the house on Oak Street. Liam stepped out carrying only a leather folder.
Liam, you are back. What happened? Did you see him?
I saw him. Then I signed the papers. Reeves Shipping is mine. Every last container, every dollar.
Maria's face drained completely. She took a stumbling step backward, as if the floor had tilted.
He built all that, and you just took it?
I didn't take it. He gave it to me. 15 years of working for a son. He couldn't even call.
The words she had spoken 15 years ago. Thank God he got nothing from his father. Now ricocheted through the room unsaid.
I am moving out. Not in anger. Just because I have a life to start, and it isn't here.
Liam, please. I am your mother. I made mistakes, but everything I did was out of love.
He didn't answer. He simply picked up his bag, opened the door, and stepped into a future she had no part in. Maria stumbled after him onto the porch, her voice splintering in the evening air.
Liam, wait, please. I was wrong. I'll say it 1,000 times. Just don't leave like this.
You said to Aunt Claire that I got nothing from him, that I was pure you. Do you remember that?
I didn't mean. I was just talking. I never thought you'd hear it. I never thought.
But Dad heard. He heard, and he decided to prove you wrong. He spent 15 years proving it.
Maria's legs gave way. She sank onto the cold stone step, her cries muffled by her own hands.
I don't hate you. I just can't be near you right now. Maybe not ever.
He turned and walked to the waiting cab. The door clicked shut, and the engine hummed into the silence.
Thank God he got nothing from his father. She'd said that. And now that nothing was worth everything.
The taillights vanished down Oak Street, taking with them the last trace of a family she had broken with a single careless sentence. The house on Oak Street was silent. Maria sat at the kitchen table, an old photo album open before her.
I took this from him too. His father, his memory, everything.
Far away, Liam stood in his new apartment, a key cold in his palm, boxes unopened. A different silence settled, freer, but heavier. In his office, Thomas watched the port below. A rare smile crossed his lips. On his desk, the framed photo of young Liam now lay beside the signed trust. Maria closed the album. The pages were stained, but no one was left to see them.
He didn't feel victorious. He felt the weight of a legacy his mother had tried to erase.
Outside, the city thrummed. For the first time, he belonged only to himself. The three of them, oceans apart, each carrying a different piece of the same wound. Maria remained at the table long after the album was closed. The kitchen clock ticked into the silence.
I was so sure he was nothing, and I made sure my son believed it.
The house around her was no longer a home, just a container of echoes.
Thomas once told me a word could build or break a life. I laughed then.
A drop of water landed on the leather cover, blurring the faded lettering. She didn't wipe it away.
I have nothing left to give him. He got everything from his father after all.
The words she had once crowed into the phone now sat in her throat. A stone she would never swallow. Outside, Oak Street was quiet. No cars passed. No one was coming back. The stillness pressed in, thick and permanent, like a door that had locked from the inside. She didn't move. There was no one left to ask her to. Dawn broke over the port, painting the cranes in rose and gold. Liam stood at the window, a cup of coffee cooling in his hand. Container ships began their slow ballet across the water, a rhythm his father had orchestrated for over a decade.
Every container out there carries a piece of what he built, and now it's mine to carry.
He turned to the desk. A small framed photograph rested beside the signed trust papers. The same snapshot his mother had torn, restored by his father, and now kept on this new desk.
He understood, finally, why his father couldn't call. The silence had been an open door, not a locked one.
The first light flooded the office, chasing away the shadows. He picked up a gold pen, the same one he had used to sign the trust, and placed it beside the photograph. A quiet ceremony.
I'll carry this, not as a burden, as proof that a father's love can hide for 15 years and still be the only thing that matters.
Outside, a ship's horn blew once, long, low, and steady. The day had begun, and so had he.